Okay, so we continue with our studies of the book Alert by the Spirit Joanna de Angelis, dictated to the medium Divaldo Franco. I can't believe we are already almost
Finished.
finished. It's 60 lessons. We are in lesson 48 already. She's going to be talking today about dynamism of the world. It's a very interesting and I think very important lesson for us all. Yeah, I think you're gonna agree to me today. So let's start reading. When asked to speak, allow your lips to bloom hope and happiness. This way, you will spread words on the path of anxious hearts. Regardless of finding yourself at the crossroads of silent testimony, unveil your starry sky of faith. Shed light through gentle messages to the souls who seek you whilst still in shadows and bewilderment. Although you may not find yourself in good health or experiencing the injunctions of oblivious cruelty which afflicts you, express consideration about equilibrium, proclaiming optimism. So, the lesson today is all about what are we going to be sending out to the world through body language, our words, our actions, because sometimes we don't say anything, but we can express very well with our faces, right? With our gestures. And Joanna de Angelis understanding how much each one of us can impact in the lives of others. And trying to be and to make us proactive in this movement of the renewal. She's proposing to us here a formula for our renewal and for helping in the world, which will be to always transpire optimism, hope, always trying to see the positive aspects last week we talked about and Marlene talked to us about the glass half full, right? Always looking at life from this perspective and always sending this message of faith, hope, optimism. At the same time, she's not oblivious to the fact that we ourselves may be going through very difficult situations in our own private lives. But even then, she says, or she invites us to still continue in a positive conduct each and every in everything that we are sending out to the world. So this is how she starts this chapter. And if you have any comments at this point or would like to add something, question.
I have a
Yes.
question.
Mm-hmm.
When someone is like with shadow around and then not behave in this way, we can say they have spiritual bad spirits around, or something it's from inside
Mm-hmm.
to outside, or pressure outside and then block the feeling and the thoughts in that person.
It's very interesting what you're proposing here, Sonia, because well, I mean, it's very complex for a starter to think whether it comes from oneself, it comes from the ambience, it comes from the spiritual influences. We could say all of the above and none of the above sometimes. Perhaps no, not none of the above. In a way, one of them is going to impact us, but all of the above could be true. And this is one thing that sometimes, in messages that we see from the spirits, some of them already published. I mean, they keep on telling us about us, the role we play in associating or not with them, and with what kind of spirits we are going to be associating with. Like, for instance, even sometimes, and we have that in the spirits book, when they are talking about guardian angels, familiars, spirits, benefactors, protectors, that they are there screaming in our spiritual ears to to be on the lookout, to change our ways, to analyze properly the things, and we ignore them. So and sometimes it's not only a matter of ignoring, but it's a matter of they are not being capable of attuning with us. That's why in the spiritism we talk so much about prayer. It's not about prayer, it's not about the way many of us understand prayer, in the sense, oh, now I'm going to pray, God is going to be happy with me, and with all this atavic concepts of the past. But it's when we think about praying, and when we really start praying or doing something that represents a prayer, so to say, we are opening our channels of good vibrations, positivity, good energy, and in this way we are capable of channeling, receiving the same kind of waves towards us. So we open our channel to this situation. So here, when we detain ourselves too much on the negative aspects of life, and we nourish that, because sometimes people come to us and start talking about all the disgraces, all and always that dark cloud about the head. Okay, everyone has the right to feel like that every now and then, to vent with friends, uh, but we in our position, if a friend comes to us like this, we are not going to put more wood in the fire. Like we say, we are going to try to make the person also see things from a different aspect, trying to to become more optimistic about things, to at least to have patience, saying, how many times we all have gone through so many difficult things, we overcome them, this is also shall pass, right? So this is the situation. And sometimes it's not a matter of just going and preaching, but just for the fact of not attuning and not increasing even more this kind of sense, is good. Let's say that a friend comes and say, oh, I think my spouse is betraying me. And so instead of saying, you know what, I've been noticing that he seems to be a bit cold around you, instead of gossiping, or like we said, put more wood in the fire, we will say, try to bring the person to reason, and or to calm down, listen, maybe he's going through a phase, or she's going through a phase, or this or that. So it's or when we have a problem in the work, so it's this is what she's inviting us here, for us not to be the recipient of even more negative emotions, especially when we see so many negativity around us. We are experiencing this now. We've been talking about this in our studies, how much even without noticing very much, we are all feeling the impact of the energy of loss, of fear, of anguish, of depression is invading our space. You know, there is no confinement for energies. You know, they travel, they travel at easy, and we've been seeing that and experiencing that. And this is what she's saying here: do not contribute for all those feelings, emotions to become even worse. Any other comment or question?
Yesterday, I participated in a really beautiful meditation.
Uh-huh.
And afterward, the facilitator asked us to kind of share our experience, our thoughts about what transpired. And the first person who shared, her attempt was to say that she had a really bad day and this is a really beautiful thing. But in saying that she had a really bad day, she quickly went into this vortex of like, this happened, this happened, this happened. And then before you knew it, she completely lost the point of meditation. And the facilitator said, okay, now let's actually start over and just finish the sentence and say, I had a bad day. Now tell us what the meditation was like for you. It was really fascinating, like in vivo, to see that happen. Sometimes we get stuck in old stories
Mhm.
or in frustration. Even when something
Mhm.
beautiful has happened, if we get that we turn to that negative energy, we get sucked in again very quickly. And it was interesting to see that happen, like right there in someone's experience.
It is really incredible to see that. And I mean the experience that you're saying, and this is what happens. I think because of course, because of our is still spiritual nature. I'm not going to even say human nature because it's spirit. Because of our spiritual nature still, you know, struggling, we are much more open to those kind of emotions, and immediately we attune with them. They bring things to memory, like for instance, perhaps we are not even thinking about something, you know, not nice that happened to you, and then when she starts saying that, oh well, yeah, I remember that I you know was riding my bike and someone cursed me or something, immediately we associate with the negative. With the positive, it's harder because it's not so natural. It's not second nature in us as well, still, and so it is incredible. I have a, a drawing and that is about one person that is very nervous and saying, you know, bad negative words, and three people that are around them, while he is only the one that is completely in shadow because of all this negative energy. uh, uh, the more the people stay next to him, the more you see, you know, the dark penetrating the other tree that had no dark whatsoever. So this is when she says here, either you put a stop to that, or even move away from this energy, and moving away in order not to become contaminated by that. It doesn't mean that you cannot from a distance, you know, to pray, to send good vibrations to those people. Let's see here what Orlando said. We all have those experiences because we are incarnate in a physical body, which is used to improve our morality. That's right. That's right, Orlando. We but it's not only a matter of being incarnate, because if we were discarnate as well in the spirit realm, like we were saying before when Sonia proposed that question, we still going to participate in the humans affairs if that is what we attune with. So again, it's not the body, it's the spirit, and whether we have this garment or not, it doesn't make that much of a difference in terms of our emotions. Let's see how she continues. Never exhume forgotten ideas that are already dead by bringing them up through pessimistic comments or shelter suggestions, which induce depressing considerations. Never sustain accusatory conversations, retelling episodes of another's life with bitterness and ridicule. Everybody's problems deserves our respect. Place your verbal expressions in service of renovation and enthusiasm towards those who surround you. It is so easy for us, to refer to fact that had happened 20, 30 years ago, 10 years ago, 3 years ago, uh, which means that we keep all this data or the unnecessary data, especially considering things that are problems or situations that are already gone in the past. And so this is what she is bringing about here. The way, for example, that we label people. So let's say that, 20 years ago, you did something and was labeled because of that something, Now there you are 20 years later, hopefully better than 20 years before, and people are still referring to you to things that you did during your childhood or adolescence. And as you know, if all those decades and experiences you have not learned or changed it. So and we have this tendency to refer to that. Let's say that we hear of someone now because of the COVID, which is unfortunately is happening a lot, is going too deep into alcoholism.
Mm.
And then we will say, oh yeah, I remember, in high school he already liked to drink. You know, what's the point, right? And there's really one thing has to do with another. How are we, improving the situation with those kind of commentaries, just trying to say, oh yeah, the person was already that bad years ago. So this is what she's saying. And even for us not to engage in those kind of conversations, that is not just gossiping, but that sometimes bring much more, accusations and things that can be very detrimental to us, and of course to the people that are the recipient of our comments. uh, Another thing that she brings that I think is so important is we should never judge other people's problems. Like we say, sometimes, depending on the spiritual condition of each and every one, we can deal better or not with our ordeals. And sometimes because you can, deal better with one aspect of life and the other person doesn't, you're going to say, how come this person doesn't, go through the same way? We have different ways. Maybe you can excel in one area but be very poor in another, and that person that you are, the area that you are poor can excel and be very poor in the one that you excel. And this should be never a reason for us to disrespect the impact of life in each other, in people's lives. So the idea here, the dynamism that she says here is always, if you don't have anything good to say, just don't say anything. I think Abraham Lincoln has a phrase that he says, if people think that you are a fool,
Sure.
better, Better not to risk it, keep your mouth shut, something like that. It's not, I mean, do you remember how it is, Philip?
It essentially says, keep your mouth shut and don't remove all doubt.
Yeah, something like that. If you people have any doubts, if you are, just keep your mouth shut. So he is not exactly about that, but I associated with this phrase by Abraham Lincoln because in a sense, this is a very good exercise for us, to shut our mouths, right? Very good exercise. That again, let us refer again about the advice that the mother of the medium Chico Xavier, Francisco Xavier, gave to him. She was a spirit. She died when he was 4 years old. And one day he was going through, all these accusations and etc. And then she told him, if you feel the urge to retaliate, drink the water of peace. And he went to the pharmacy looking for, water of peace. At that time, he was born in 1910, I think. And so kind of homeopathic remedies, all that, and he couldn't find it. And then next time she appeared to him in a spirit, she said, look, Mom, where can I find? You gave me the prescription, but didn't tell me where can I find this water of peace. And she said, oh no, just put water in your mouth and at least count till 10 and don't swallow. If at this moment you you still cannot refrain yourself, keep it longer in your mouth. So this is the water of peace, and just shutting our mouth, right? Any comments or questions? Okay, so let's read another one. The blaze of a slander needs water of silence to quell it. The scourge of persecution awaits the cautious attitude in order to cease. Devastating aggression disappears when faced with peaceful nonviolence. If you become aware of censures and criticism against you, be silent and forgive. So she continues, in the same ways, giving us more situations. And I think we relate to some of them, right? We all have been, I think, through aggressions, persecutions, criticism, but it's no use giving them the possibility of impacting us. The medium Divaldo Franco once said something like this, you can give me whatever gift you want to give me, but I'm not obliged to accept them. Meaning sometimes, what you are offering me, it's not good, but it's up to me accept what you are sending in my way. Right. So we have to be in control. We have to understand that we cannot control other people's emotions and feelings and judgments about us, but we can control what we accept or not. Again, Chico Xavier, he had one phrase that he said, if people are talking bad about me and they're right, I can only keep quiet. They're right. If they are talking about me and they're not, they already have their opinion, their formed opinion. They're not necessarily going to change. So I keep quiet as well. It's not going to help in any way. Again, due to our passionate nature, it's very easy for us to lose control sometimes. And this is the exercise she's proposing to us here, mostly because she understands that we have nothing to gain, nothing. Okay, and the non-violence here, we remind us of Gandhi, right? With a non-violence, he freed the country, right? Any comments or questions? Okay, so let's go to the next one. If disorienting and unjust accusations reach you, be still and pardon. If blows of impiety or gratuitous persecution surprise you, proceed in goodness and understanding. Do not lament those who left you on the side road or turn against you. If you persist in your duty, these individuals will leave, but others will come. That, I think, it was absolutely brilliant and so important. Because what happens is when we are suffering injustice, unjust accusations, like she says here, and thank God, gratuitous persecution, etc., it's very easy for us to dismay and to even come to the point of stopping doing the good actions we were doing, the good deeds we were doing, that were the cause of all those envious, criticism, etc., coming our way. So here she says, go ahead. Again, I'm going to remind, I'm thinking it's quoting Divaldo a lot. One day he told me that. He said, Jussara, in your life, follow the example, follow this motto or this saying that is a Turkish one. While the caravan goes, the dogs bark. Let the dogs bark. You know, we have to do what we have to do. We never going to please each and every one. Not even Jesus was capable of doing that, and so many other, you know, uh, important figures of history, going from religious, scientific aspect, like, you know, everyone thought Pasteur was crazy when he talked about an unseen world of sorry,
Microorganisms.
microorganisms. Thank you, Philip. So you see all the innovation in each and every field of life, we are going to find resistance. And it cannot be different. I mean, like for us, when we are starting in this path of spirituality, I don't know if you experienced that. I did, but you know, your friends will come to you. Hey, are you trying to be a saint now? You know, you. It's only natural, but like she says here, if people do not, these people that are around us today do not understand us, don't worry, others will come, and others that will bring even more, you know, good things to your life. And I think this is very important for us to keep in mind. And again, sometimes we focus so much on those that went away, and we don't see all those that are around us, right? Sometimes, for instance, here we know we always talk about how much sometimes, you know, for I believe for the majority of people, family relationship is not an easy one. And sometimes we focus so much on this, blood links, and we don't see that we have so many, familiar, friendly people, spirits that are around us, and we focus only on the one that is not necessarily understanding us at that moment. So, and because of that, many times we don't do what we have to do in terms of working on our inner improvement. Questions, comments?
I was thinking a lot about family as well. My family lives out of state, and I see them like twice a year. And for the
Yeah.
first few minutes, it's like we're all really curious to see each other, and we love catching up. And then after that, we resort to all the old patterns, all the negative, the gossip and the slander and the name calling, and it's really it's sad. I feel like these are spirits that we've probably incarnated with a lot of times, and we're still trying to figure out how to accept each other as we are, and to see the change that we're making, and to to have curiosity and love toward each other. It's I feel like
Yeah.
families are very tricky in that regard.
Very tricky. Very tricky. You see, as many times the family members are people that, unless they were family, we wouldn't relate to them at all. But they are people that need to be by our side, not necessarily because many people will say, oh, I did something bad in the past and now I have to attune to this particular person. Not a spirit, not necessarily. Okay, sometimes yes, but sometimes this kind of spirit is placed next to us just to teach us lessons of patience, tolerance, forgiveness, understanding, things that we need in order to go to the next step. And of course, the level of intimacy that we have with family members always allows us to show more our true colors. You may have a friend of 20, 30 years, but it's still they do not know your true colors. You can still hide some part of you, mask some aspects of you. But in the family, it's like, you are many times transparent. And that's why it makes it harder, um, to try to mask, and especially when we don't have that many contact with them. They are not on the day to day anymore following our advancements, seeing us in a different perspective, under a different light. We go there and we are still the same that we were years ago, because there is no more intimacy, so to say. We don't share, our values for whatever reason. So everything, it becomes more complicated. And then we resort to the old dynamics, like you said, which is, it becomes more comfortable to everyone, right? Then really sitting face to face and say, what is really going on with you? I wanted to share your experiences. I want to know how it was really, truly this last year for you and your inner feelings. And yeah, we don't do that, right? Okay, let's go to the next one. When placed in the position of the speaker, measure your concepts and explain them, deliver them loaded with happy emotions. Let me see here. And explain there. Well, I'll have to look at this later. With the word, you can induce peace or foment war. So words are very powerful, especially when we put our emotions into it. and how much we can really impact others. And when we say that, we are not only saying in terms of speaking words, we're talking about written words as well. Written words have led many people to go through good or bad, right? There was, for instance, that book from Goethe that talked about, a beautiful suicide out of a passion and etc. After he released the book, I forgot the name of the book, a lot of the youngsters started committing suicide. So words are very, very important. We have to be very careful what we are saying, what we are putting into paper, what we are sending out in the world. So we are responsible for them. About your question, Orlando, if we can hold the spiritual world responsible for the evil spirits that are incarnating and leading crimes and wars, we are them. If we were not, if negative spirits, bad spirits were not allowed to incarnate, we would not be here. We may not be as bad now, but not in the distant past. We were the one doing those things. And still, if it comes to a point where we are, you know, led only by instinct. You see when it happens sometimes when we have a blackout and people start loitering, right? That's the word. And they know they cannot do that, that they are damaging other people, but they couldn't. No one is looking. I can't do anything. So we give rise to our instincts. The masquerade balls was exactly for that. I can do whatever I want because people will not recognize me. So who am I really? And in this sense, from the spiritist perspective, it is a blessing for us to be having the opportunity of reincarnating and learning in order to overcome our negative tendencies through experience, through this process of I push button the button A, I'm going to have a certain result is the law of cause and effect. It will come to a point. Remember that experience that I did, I think, with chimpanzees, that they placed a banana on the top of a tree, and the chimpanzees would go there if a chimpanzee would go to grab this banana and grab the banana, all of the other chimpanzees, not the one that were going to get the banana, would receive an electric shock. And so after a few times that they were doing that and then being shocked, and the other one that was going for the banana, he didn't know what was going on. He was just being rewarded with the banana. So after a few times, and they put the banana there again, this one that was never shocked tried to go up. The other ones grabbed him and start beating him. No, you don't go there anymore. You see, so we learn it is painful. Behaviors are painful. We don't go for the banana up there. And this is what happens to us. It comes to a point that we say, no more. I have already knocked my head on the wall several times. I don't want to go through this path anymore. Unfortunately, it requires a few times, for us to learn the process. So that's why we keep coming and going. But the good news at this point is that we are really going through a planetary transition, which means our world and the citizens of our world are going to get better, are already getting better. And the ones that are not going to be adapting to this new way of living are going naturally to be transferred to a place of living that is much more agreeable to their own nature. And so there will be this uh, natural selection, so to say, of spirits that will say, "Oh, I'm, you know, uh, I will adapt to life on Earth, or I still prefer life the other when it, the old times. So I'll go to a place where I will have that." So this is happening now. I mean, for the past uh, 70, 80 years, almost 100 years, this is what has been going on, and more now. That's one of the reasons why we are going through a pandemic as well, to lead us to reflect a little more about this. Let's look at this last part here. In his words and behavior, Jesus left us a legacy that time has not eradicated. They remain a constellation of celestial bodies illuminating the eternal night beyond the future, inextinguishable. Jesus is always the guide and model. Again, the way we see Jesus in Spiritism is not with a view of worshiping a man, but recognizing the superiority, the moral superiority of a spirit. And so it is much, the reverence that we have is because of, the guidelines, and above all, the examples that Jesus gave to us. It's beyond the just what we are told, or dogmatic points of views. Is really examining the result, so powerful that it has split history into before and after this, noble spirit. And we have the final example of the cross, like when Joanna de Angelis was talking about here, us forgiving people that make wrong accusations against us, etc. So this is the example that he gave on the cross. He was there suffering suffocation, all the physical pains one can suffer in the situation he was going through. And he still, the last words that he will say is, forgive them all. They do not know what they're doing. And us, with all the knowledge, understanding, and the purpose we have for spiritual improvement, it is about time that we start eliminating, those grudges we still harbor within ourselves, or, giving them more value that they should have, understanding the perspective, of people that have been acting in this way with us. And when we see even the whole message of Jesus, why it caused so much impact in the world, because he came and he gave us a message of love. there is no more positive message than this one. And here we are talking about 2000 years ago where things were really, really, really bad, right? Now, with all the technology working in our favor, all of this that we have, the human laws that little by little are catching up in showing us we are all equals, equal before the law, right? Um, yeah, so it's very important for us to keep that in mind, and especially again, like we said before, considering the times that we are living. Let us, when people comment and ask us how was your experience during the this pandemic, instead of focusing only on the negative, let us uh, intriguing them with our comments of saying, you know what, I found out about myself more. I had time to read good books, of getting to know people through Zoom or any other way we had to communicate, and it made me be more in touch with myself and understand more what is really important in life. So yeah, it's like you, some of you know, we yesterday we resumed our Monday meetings in person, which was very good, very, very, very nice to have people there again, to be there for people. But at the same time, no hugs, no physical contact, everyone with masks. Of course, we wanted to hug each and everyone and say, oh my God, how much I missed you, and to feel that human contact. But no, we 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 know that it is not, it's still not possible or not prudent. We have to be very cautious. And it's something now that before was so automatic. Perhaps we would just, because we see each other, we kiss and hug. Oh, okay, now it's not going to be like that anymore. It's going to have a different meaning. Oh my God, I'm touching you, I'm embracing you, right? It's going to be more of more powerful experience. And now we see it. And so when we talk about it, when we talk about life in general, let us be the ones, the bearers of light. It may not be that much, but a little bit is enough to bring a different perspective in the place where we are. And it's only up to us. Okay. Any more final comment or consideration about this lesson? Let me stop.
You to use your words to giving us hope and to believe it's possible to use our time when you use our words or when we need to be quiet and use our silence in
Yeah.
benefit. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Joanna de Angelis, right? She's the one reminding us about all that. And sometimes, I've been, it's been so enlightening and enriching, this book that she brought to us, this alert, right? The name of the book. Sometimes, when we think about it, those are simple lessons, obvious lessons. But yeah, to put them in practice is not, it's still not that easy. But the more we think about it, it will become part of us. It will become part of our day-to-day lives. Okay. Okay, so any volunteer for the final prayer?